Okay, so now we can go ahead and get started. So before I jump into Maptitude itself, I'll show you first what the sample data that we'll be working with today looks like. So here I have an Excel sheet with sample customers. So we have each of our customers, we have the customer name, as well as the street address, city, state, and then the zip code that they belong in. So we can use this data here in order to map them as points on the map in Maptitude. So to do that, I'll go ahead and choose New Map My Data Table Spreadsheet. And then I'll go ahead and browse for that Excel file. And this will be in the tutorial folder here, Sample Customers United States. Now, using the Create a Map wizard, I can go through the steps in order to map the data how I want it to. So first, I'll make sure to match up the columns in our Excel sheet with the information that it's supposed to represent. So address, city, state, and zip code. If you do have the tracked code, you can select that code, select that column here. Next, we can choose how we want our data to be mapped. In this case, we want to match each data to a street address. So I'll choose to locate records in your file by address. If you do want to show aggregate data, such as customers by zip code, you can choose the show option here, show zip code boundaries with your data attached. In this case, I want to locate by address, so I'll choose that one here. Next, I have the option to link our data. Linking means that if I make changes to the Excel sheet, I can have the map in Maptitude update to reflect those changes. So if I eliminate or remove a customer from that Excel file, if I add another customer, if I change an address or change the name, then all of those changes will be reflected in the map. Next, I can choose a theme. So if I have different categories of customers, I can color code each of those customers. In this case, we don't have any category field, so I'll choose none. And we can also do an analysis. So if I want to create a heat map, for example, showing where our customers are most concentrated at, I can choose the density option here. So that I can see hotspots of where my customers are. Okay, so after this process is finished, we'll be able to see a summary of how Maptitude has located all of our records in the Excel file. So it looks like almost all of them were located, but there were 24 that were not located at all. And I'll show you in a second how to correct these records here that were not located. So if I click OK, I can go ahead and open up that map, and we should now be able to see our customers as well as that density or heat map. So here, all of these blue dots are our customers, and on the left-hand side, let me actually make this a little bit larger. On the left-hand side, I can see the customers layer, and I can click the green check mark here in order to turn this layer off. And then now I can see that heat map. I can see that the Denver downtown area has most of our customers along with Boulder here. Okay, so now we can talk about those addresses that were not found. And in order to correct those addresses, I can right-click the customers layer, choose new data view. That will open up a table of all of our customers. And then in the top left, I'll change from all records to the address not found. So these are all of the addresses that were not found. You can export this back out into Excel by going to File, Export, and then Table, or you can make those changes directly in this table here. So if I go ahead and double click, I can go ahead and edit these entries here. So if I remove that suffix there at the end, okay, so I've made changes to these two addresses here in order to re-geocode or relocate just these customers. I can go to Tools, Locate, and then Locate Wizard. So here we're just running this location procedure on the address not found group here. We'll make sure that all of the columns match up. And then at the bottom here, we can choose how our customers are located. So we definitely want to locate by their exact address and zip code or exact address and city, but we can choose optionally to scatter them within however many miles of their zip code or city. So in the case that the street address was not found, we can choose to just locate them by their zip code or their city. So let's say I don't want this, I can uncheck those, and that will make sure that all of my addresses will be located by their address and not by their zip code or city. So after I click OK, Maptitude will tell me it only looked at 24 records, and 2 of them, which I just changed, have now been located. And we can repeat this process as many times as we want. Okay, so that's how we're able to locate our data that was not located previously. We can turn layers on and off using this display manager here on the left-hand side. So now we can see the hotspots of where our customers are located. But let's say we want to be able to see census tracts and how many customers per census tract do we have. So to do that, I can go ahead and turn on the customers layer. And if I open up a table by right-clicking and then going to new data view, I don't have a column here that represents what census tract that the customer lives in. So to add that column, we can go ahead and use tag points by area. So to do that, I'll right-click my customers layer, choose Make Working Layer, and then I'll go to Tools, Analysis, and then Tag Points by Area. I'll make sure that I want to tag all of the features, so all of the customers on the map. And then I want to tag using the census tract layer. And for the field that I'm tagging with, I want to tag each customer with the tract code of the census tract. So that's the tract field here. So now I can go ahead and click OK. And Maptitude will tag each of our customers with the tract ID that the customer lives in. So now I have this new column here. I can go ahead and export this table out into Excel by going to File, Export Table. And then I will call this Census Tracts, Customers. And now we can use that new Excel file in order to show a heat map at the census tract level. So if I go ahead and go to the display manager, check census tract so we can see it on the map, and then go to map in the top left, and then choose add table or spreadsheet to a map. Then we can go ahead and select that new Excel file that we just created. And then now I can see that this column here has been added. And then for this next step, instead of choosing the locate option, I want to show the census tract boundaries with our data attached. So I don't want to link it, I just want to import it. And for this next step here, since we want a heat map or color theme, we can choose the color option here, and then we'll choose the number of records in that Excel file. So it will count the number of customers per census tract. Right. So now I can see the census tracts color-coded based on how many customers live in that census tract. If I want to make changes to this theme here, I can go ahead and go to the census tract layer, right click, make working layer, and then go to either map, thematic mapping, and then color, or I can also click the buttons here in the top left. Then I can go to the Styles tab in order to change the coloring of the map and the colors here. Right, so that's how we're able to use the tagging option here in order to add additional data to the customers layer that we have. We also have several data products that may be helpful for your mapping needs here. So I can go ahead and add those free data products by going to map and then layers, and then go to add layer. So one of the layers that we have are the FFIEC tracts, which is used in compliance mapping. So that is the CCFFIEC tract file here. And we'll be able to open that up and then display them on the map here. I can access the attributes by right-clicking, going to New Data View, and then I'm able to see all of the different demographic data here. And if I want to visualize that data on the map, I can right-click, make working layer, and then go to the color theme map wizard here, and then choose one of the demographic fields. So that's the FFIEC tracts. We also have banking data available for free. And I believe that would be the caliper banking data here. And I can go ahead and add all three of these layers into the map. So we have banks, credit unions, and then farm banks as well. And then these layers I can turn on and off as well. So we can see as well which ones are the branches or the main office, whether or not they're foreign banks, limited, and other category here. So with this bank layer here, let's say we want to just be able to see a specific bank or a specific office. So let's say that we want to see all of the, let's see, what would be a good example here? Let's say that we want to be able to see all of the Bank of America banks and chains in the US here. We can go ahead and use the selection tools and create a selection of just those banks. And to do that, I'll go to selection in the top left, and then go to select by condition. And using this dialog box here, I can choose the field list. And in this case, we want to choose the name. And we want to select all the banks where the name contains, and then we can either go to the values here, and then we can select Bank of America. And then for this grouping or the set, I'll call this Bank of America. Then I'll go ahead and click OK. And now if I go back to the map here, all of the Bank of America locations will now be highlighted in this green color here. So to make this a little bit clearer, I can actually right click and then choose Show the Set Only. And that will hide all of the other banks except these Bank of America locations here. And if I want, I can also change this style here to better match with their branding. So maybe we can do a red color, and instead of just a circle, maybe we can do a flag, for example. And that's how we're able to leverage the free data products in Maptitude and display them on the map here. So we also do have census block and block group data available. So these are not free. You'll need to order them on the store, but after you do so, you're able to see block groups as well as census blocks with the demographic data from the 2020 census. And for the block groups, we have the 2021 American Community Survey as well. And you can add them by going to Map, Layers, and then Add Layer. So those block groups can be added onto your map here. If I right click and then go to New Data View, I can see all the demographic information attached to those block groups. All right, so we have seen how we can create color themes at the census tract level for our own data using the number of customers per census tract. But let's say we want to create a color theme using a formula or a calculation that we input ourselves. So for example, we want to see the population density for each of these census tracts. So the Maptitude data doesn't normally come with the population density attached at the census tract level, but we'll be able to create those ourselves. And to do that, I can right-click census tract, choose Make Working Layer, and then I can go back to the color theme map wizard here in the top left. And then for the field dropdown, instead of the number of customers, we can change this to formula at the very bottom. Okay, so it's similar to that select by condition dialog box that we saw earlier, but this time we want to calculate the population density. So first I'll go to the field list, and these are all of the demographic fields that we have access to. So I can actually type in and filter the list interactively. So if I type in population, I'll be able to see all of the different population fields in this layer. So I'll choose 2020 population, which is the population from the census survey. Population by itself is from the American Community Survey. So I want from the census survey, choose 2020 population, go to the operator list. So we want to divide that by the area of the census tract. I can go here and then choose area. And then for the name of the formula, I will call this population density. Go ahead and click OK. And then now I can go ahead and click Apply, and I'll be able to see that population density theme applied here. Remember, I can go to Styles and then use these previous next buttons here in order to change the style of the map here. So this is what we would expect. The Denver downtown area is much higher in population density compared to the areas outside. And then if we go ahead and turn on the density of the customers here, we can sort of compare and contrast where our customers are located and where the majority of the population is concentrated in. And it looks like it's almost a one-to-one match here. All right. So that is everything that I have prepared for today. Did anybody have any questions? You can type in the chat and let me know if you maybe want to see something else displayed here on the map, another feature that you were interested in, or if you have any questions about anything I've done so far. Okay, so we do have a little bit of time here. And since we have this example up here, let's say that we wanted to take a look at the coverage of these Bank of America locations here. So from this map here, let's say that we want to visualize a 5-mile radius from each of these Bank of America locations. So then we're able to display our customers as well and then see how that lines up. And let's say we will also wanted to count the number of customers that falls in that 5-mile radius for the Bank of America locations here. So to do that, we can right-click US Bank, choose Make Working Layer. And remember, US Bank is where those Bank of America locations are. And then we'll go to Tools in top left, go to Analysis, and then we can either do buffers, and this is going to be a flat 5-mile radius, or if you want to do driving distance, so a 5-mile driving distance, so we can do time as well, that will be under Routing and Directions in the drive time rings. So for div A, I'll use the buffers, and then we'll choose the Bank of America locations. And then I'll do a 5-mile buffer. And then for the demographics, I can go to the configuration here. And let's say I wasn't really interested in the census demographics for this 5-mile radius from each of these Bank of America locations. So I'll choose none. But what we're interested in are the customers that we have. So I want to count the number of customers. So I'll choose the My Customers layer under the feature count here. So now I can go ahead and click OK, and we'll be able to see what a 5-mile radius looks like, and then how many of our customers are contained in that 5-mile radius. So it looks like it was created for the entire US here. So we can just zoom into where our data is, which is this Denver area here. And I can also go ahead and show those customers. And let me make this a little bit easier to read by reducing the size and making it a bit more transparent. Now we can see that in a 5-mile radius from these Bank of America locations, 3,031 of our customers are located within a 5-mile radius, or within a 5-mile straight line to a Bank of America location. So that's an example of a coverage analysis that we could run in Maptitude here. And we would be able to do this with your customers list as well as a list of your locations and be able to find out how many customers are covered in a 5-minute drive time, an hour drive time, etc. And if you wanted to find or get a list of those specific customers that are located in this area here, we can use the Select by Location feature. And to do that, I can right-click, choose Make Working Layer, and that's the Customers layer here. And then I'll go to Selection in the top left, and then choose Select by Location. And then I'll select based on features in the buffer layer. So the US Bank buffers. And I'll select all of the customers that are inside of a buffer. And I'll put them in the selection set called within 5 miles of Bank of America. You'll notice that those customers' colors have changed. It's this yellow color here. And if I return to the table view of the customers, I can go to the window in the top left, choose the customers layer. I'll be able to toggle the drop down here in the top left, choose the within 5 miles of Bank of America, and then I'm able to see all of those customers within a 5-mile radius. And then I can export this into Excel by going to File, Export, and then Table. All right, great. Thanks so much. Let us know if you have any other questions, but otherwise I hope this was helpful. And thanks for attending.